Hi, today I'm going to teach you how to use your Google Classroom and create a Google form that can be used with your students for assessment purposes. To begin with, this can be used in lower grades in the primary as well as in the upper grades, including elementary, middle, and high school. It can be used as a form of assessment, or you can use it and create a path so that the students are almost using blended learning as they choose their path and have to make mastery before they can continue. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to classroom.google.com. If you're already registered, then your Google Classroom should pop up. If not, you may need to log into your Google account. Then you'll need to choose the class that you wish to create it under. If I'm going to create an assessment in social studies, I may go to assessments by hitting the plus in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. Once I hit plus, I have plenty of different things I can do. I can reuse a post. I can create a question that gets my students interested in learning. I can create an assignment, which I will grade, which I'll use for my form today. Or I can just create an announcement in which my students can read. Today, I'm going to create an assignment. Once you click on Create an Assignment, you're going to want to give your assignment a name. Then, you can either go and change the class if it's incorrect. You can link to something online or provide a link for your students. You can add a YouTube video by putting the URL. You can go to your Google Drive and you can attach an assignment. Or you can attach a file that you upload using Google Drive. Once I have my assignment made, I can go ahead and go back into my Google Drive, which I'm simply going to go to a new tab up top. I'm going to go under my drive, which should be in my waffle up in the top right. And this is where I will do the creation of my assignment. So, once my Google Drive loads, I'm going to pick the folder in which I'm going to create my item. Today I'm creating something for my class. So I'm going to go under my Mrs. Ellis folder. Once there, I know that I'm going to want to go under my social studies folder because this is a social studies assignment. Once my social studies folder opens, this is where I'm going to create a new form. Now, the way I do this is I'm going to have to find the new button in the top left. This is going to give me a couple of options. Once I click on new, I may wish to create a folder. I may wish to upload stuff. I may wish to create a Google Doc, which is like a Word file, Google Sheets, which is similar to an Excel file, Google Slides, which are similar to creating a PowerPoint presentation, a Google Form, a Google Drawing, where students can draw, or I can use some other things that I've added in. But today we're going to focus on Google Forms and how they can be used in instruction. So, once my Google Form loads, there's going to be quite a few options. The most important thing to remember is once you have your Google Form, you need to make sure to check the items that apply to your students. Initially, you're going to want to change the name of your form. So if it was Reconstruction, I would change it to Reconstruction. Then you can go ahead and you can say if you want them to have a login, which would be their Google email account through Horry County Schools. If you'd like to collect their emails, which is great if you want to send out a mass email later on. You want to show them the progress, how far they've gone. If you want to allow them to only have one response. And if you want to shuffle your question order in case you have multiple kids taking the same form. Now, I always start with change theme. You have a plethora of themes that you can choose from that will customize what you want the form to look like when your students see it. Because I'm doing something in social studies, I always like to pick something that has a relation to social studies. So I'm going to choose farm life. Now I'm going to go back to the left and I'm going to edit the questions. The first question that I always start with is what is your name? And it's got to be a required question. I need to obviously change this to a text. So, enter your name. And I like to do last name, first name. This ensures that when my students answer, that they're in ABC order and it's easy to put into my gradebook. Now, if I was done, I would hit done. But I'm not done. I'm going to add an item. Now, there's lots of different items you can add. Perhaps you want to add a picture, or you want to add a paragraph text, or you want to put a multiple choice, or you want them to check. You can have so many different options that it gets a little overwhelming. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by entering my title question. Now, since I wanted to go to multiple choice, I can put my answers down below. Now, once I have my answers, I can say, go to page based on answer. Now, if I want to go to another page, I can add it, and I could put the link in here. So they can have to create a new path based on how they answer their questions. When I'm done with this question, I want to make sure it's a required question. So now I'm going to add an item. Let's say that I want to add an image. I can go in here and I can take a picture. I can use a URL. I can go to my albums. I can go to my Google Drive, or I can search. If I want to upload an image from something that I already have saved, I can go on my computer and I can find where I have pictures saved, and I can choose any one of these pictures to go ahead and add to my test. So once I scroll through my pictures, let's say that I have this picture. I'm going to click on the sharecropper picture, and I'm going to select it, and I'm going to add it. Now I want to give my image a title. I can add text that hovers over it, but I don't need to. Once I have my image, I can choose the alignment if I want it to the left, center, or right. And then when I'm done, I can hit done if I'm completely done. But if I want to add a question, now I'm going to go ahead and add a question. To add a grid. A grid's going to give me an area where they could check off answers. So now I'm going to go to my column. Let's say I'm done with that question. I'm going to hit done, and it pops up like a grid. So when the kids get the question, they have to check off the correct answers by clicking in the box. So this is what their form is going to look like right at this point. I go to View Live Form, and it's going to be like this so far. They have their name, the first question, the second question with a picture, and then it has a question underneath with a grid in which they would have to click in the box to answer the question correctly. When students get these forms, the next thing they need to do is they need to hit submit. Once they hit submit, I will have on my end a sheet that records all their answers to the questions they've given me. Let's go back here though so I can show you something else. Let's say that you want to add a video. You can add a video simply by going to YouTube. Once you find the video that you wish to upload, you want to make sure that you preview it. And then when you have your sharecropping video or whatever you choose to put in, you simply hit select. You can view it in the screen to make sure it's what you want. Once you've done it, go ahead and hit select and your video is going to be there. Now I've added a video. So underneath my video, maybe I want to give them a page break. This means that they'll only be able to see the first 3 questions. So now I might want to go to another page. And maybe I want to have a page about the 14th Amendment. So now what I can do is I can add an item, add a paragraph text. So I might want to say the 14th Amendment granted all men the right to citizenship and due process of the law. What did this mean to sharecroppers? What did this mean to African Americans? How did it affect them in a positive manner and a negative manner? And now they would type their answers in here. And again, I want to hit required question. If I'm done with my form, I hit done. And now I can show them that they can show the link to submit another response. They can publish it and a public link to show the rest of my class all their results. Or I can allow responders to edit responses after they submit, which means they can go back and change their answers. As this is a way to show my students a learning path, I would click this response because I would allow them to edit responses if they were incorrect and save any changes. So now we're going to view the live form. This is what our form looks like. We have our first question, which is usually their name. We have a question about the aims of Abraham Lincoln. We have a title for sharecroppers in our picture, and we've created a grid. Then we have a video on sharecroppers' memories. Now remember how we created that page break. So if we hit continue, we can get to the next page. Now the next page, we have our text. Hit continue. This will take me to a page where I can hit submit. This way, as a teacher, I can go back in and I can see my students' responses. I can accept responses, I can see a summary of them. I can even look at the responses by hitting view responses. This will allow me to see if the answers my students clicked or typed were correct. Now I'm going to go back. Once I've created this form, in order to put it on my Google Classroom, I'm going to hit send form. I'm going to want to take this URL by hitting Control and C, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this URL. Once I've copied the URL, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit done. This way, now that I'm at my social studies classroom, I'm going to go ahead and put my link. Control V will add it, and I'm going to add that so that my students can use the Google form to show your schema. My students can now go under their Google Classroom and they will see this link that I've created. Once they see the link, they'll be prompted to log into their Google Drive and answer the questions. That's the way you use a Google form as an educator. That's the way your students will get their Google Forms in order to check their understanding. Google Forms can be used in many different ways within your Google Classroom.